Case File 65443118889, Franklin Asylum. Detective Assignment, Jonathan Davis. It was a recent finding. In the old Franklin Asylum, which recently burned down, several videotapes were discovered on the ground in a burned pile of ash. The area had once been a security recording room that had tabs on every single room of the asylum. These tapes were collected in a tiny metal box labeled Amy Sullivan. The box couldn't be opened at all. The detectives had to pry it open, frankly. As it opened, the dust collected inside, puffed, and flew onto my face. There was a total of 20 tapes. All of them had small timestamps, which is slightly odd. I have a VCR that I brought in. I put in the tape and pressed the play button. The tape I placed in was labeled number 1. The tape was a simple recording of every screen. The asylum patients were like normal in a place such as this, freaking out and jumping around. The patients in the psychotic ward were the worst of this type. Some sat in corners of the room, banging their heads. Some spoke in tongues, screaming. This was not the same in the child psychiatric ward, where children slept in their beds, chained down. Most of the children there had killed a relative and plead insanity. As awful as it is, everything was perfectly normal. By the timestamp of 12:58, the camera angle changes to a view of the warden's room. This small office was filled with the warden himself and his secretary. "Amy, dear," the warden says, standing up from his cluttered desk. "Yes," she asked, looking at him. She was pale with long brown hair and wore a nurse's outfit. "I just received a distress message from the cafeteria. Go down there and check it out," he says. He sits down, shrugging and sighing. "What is the emergency?" Amy asks before leaving. "Oh, it doesn't say." "Take a sedative with you, dear," he says. Amy nods and leaves. The camera then shifts to a view of the cafeteria. This screen was black and white, but you could tell something was wrong. A patient was flopping on a table, shouting in strange tongues and stammering. Amy is seen walking in with needles and a straitjacket. The patient screams, diving off the table. He runs around frantically, but strangely. He jumps surprisingly high and grabs onto a ledge above. He shimmies across an edge, vanishing from view. In a few minutes, he appears in front of the camera, smiling. And the tape ends. That's obviously not the source of the fire, so I ignored the happening and inserted the second tape. In this tape, it's nightfall. The rooms of the asylum are dark and quiet, and oddly enough, the patients are asleep. The one man who appeared in front of the camera simply vanished. He was nowhere to be found. It's obvious the time has changed. But where is he at? Dead, possibly. The camera switches to a view of the warden's room. Nothing is in there at all. It switches again to the cafeteria. Nothing. It switches to a view of a boiler room. Despite the ominous red glow, nothing happens. It's eerily quiet. The tape ends. I insert the third tape. I sit back, stretching my legs, when the tape turns on. Nothing. Each room is eerily silent like before. The difference is that the time has changed to day. In the all-screen view of the tape, it's visible that several patients are gone, nowhere to be found. The ones that do remain all sit there staring at the camera. They have an ominous grin, which creeps me out severely. The tape ends. I insert the fourth tape. Even more patients are gone. Only, let's say, 50 remain in their cells. The children's ward is empty. The psychiatric ward is half empty. The nursing stations are empty, except for one. Amy. The warden's office is empty. The penitentiary ward is prisoners only. The tape ends. On the fifth tape, the view has completely changed. Everyone is gone. The halls are dark, abandoned. In the all-screen view, one camera moves around the halls. "It's been 3 days," Amy's voice says from the view. She turns the camera around to her face, and the camera changes to just her. She's obviously scared. Everyone's gone. Just gone. I can't keep doing this. The warden comes in for 10 minutes to take roll and just vanishes. Today I came in to turn in my resignation, but when I did, the lights went out. The warden's gone. The doors are all locked. The windows have bars on them. I'm afraid I won't make it out of here. So just in case, I'm making this diary to show what this awful place is, she says. Amy? A girl's voice calls. She shrieks and turns around to show a tiny girl holding a teddy bear. She looked oddly beautiful. Are you a patient? Amy asks. Amy? She says again. Her face suddenly glows dark and she disappears. The bear drops. Amy shrieks and backs up. Attention! Attention! A soft female voice calls, echoing in the asylum. It must have been the voice-automated announcer, I believe. We must inform all patients that lockdown is immediate at 9 tonight, it says. It keeps talking even though they're all gone. The announcer just won't leave me alone, and that girl. Amy sighs. I keep seeing her everywhere, but I can't help but be kind. Amy walks through the cafeteria area. It's pitch black again. Several food trays lie out, covered in strange goop which I assume were simply the prisoner's daily meal. Amy sits down and lies the camera on the table next to her. She closes her eyes and lies down on the table. The tape ends. I sigh, thinking about how she could sleep on a table. How could she be locked in? Was this an elaborate plot to get me to believe this was a haunting? I insert the 6th tape. This tape is nothing but Amy sleeping. In the video, shadows and orbs are seen passing over her. The tape ends after 20 minutes of her sleeping. I fast forward through, ejected, and insert tape 7. Again, she was sleeping. For the next 3 tapes, Amy is just sleeping. On the 10th tape, Amy awakens and grabs the camera. God, every time I try to sleep, they keep me in this nightmare world, she cries. She takes the camera out of the room and turns around. Every tray of muck has suddenly been levitated into the air. The girl from before suddenly appears with a bear in the middle, smiling, and each tray flies to the center of the room, smashing into her. She screams and vanishes. Amy screams and runs off. She trips, dropping the camera. It slides across a small hallway pointing to Amy and a set of stairs. She tries to stand up, but can't. We apologize for this interruption, the announcer says. But there is something behind you. Amy turns around and screams. The tape ends. On the 11th tape, the camera view opens up a pitch-black room. Nothing can be seen. At the 5th minute, a candle lights up and reveals dark red eyes. They blink thrice and vanish. The candle remains in view, seemingly on a table. I can't make heads or tails of the surrounding. It goes out. At the timestamp of 20 minutes, Amy picks up the camera. She lights a second candle and holds it out to reveal a nursing station. A body cart sits in front of her. It is pushed quickly out of view and she shrieks. She walks out and enters the psychiatric ward's main hallway. Amy Sullivan, please report to the warden's office, the announcer calls. The tape ends. The 12th tape contains scratchy footage and inaudible voices. The 13th tape contains a silent clip of Amy walking around. Tables in the cafeteria shift in the view, and Amy is seen running, at least in my opinion. On the 14th tape, Amy walks into the warden's office. "Amy, dear," the warden cheers. The lights in his office turn on to reveal a warden sitting in his seat. "Warden?" Amy asks, backing up. "I saw you were messing with my security tapes. Why is that?" he asks. "You're not the warden. You can't be." "Crazy stuff's going on here," Amy backs up. "Really?" Warden asks. He walks up and opens the door, and outside, several doctors and guards walk around normally. "But..." Amy backs away. She is heard slightly sobbing. "You're probably going crazy," he laughs. He keeps laughing. The lights flicker and burst, shooting sparks onto the ground. Whispers come into the frame, overshadowing Amy's voice. The tape ends. When I played the 15th tape, it flickered for a brief moment. Amy is seen walking down a set of stairs under the office. It flickers out. On the 16th tape, there's nothing. It's blank. On the 17th tape, Amy walks down into a basement sort of area. Pigs roam around frantically, flashing in and out of view. She screams. "Pigs!" she shouts. The camera looks up, and in view is a man in a dark suit. On a stick is a pig's head, and he marches forward to her. "This little piggy," he says, marching. He quickly vanishes, and the tape ends. Sighing, I write down notes of the occurrences on tape. I insert the 18th tape, hoping this will all be over soon. Amy walks along a railing, pointing the camera around a dark and lifeless room. It suddenly brightens, and conveyor belts to the side begin sliding pigs along the sides and into grinders. Their screams echo into the camera. She shrieks, backing up into a wall. It suddenly breaks down under her, and she topples in. "Amy, dear," a familiar voice says. The tape ends. The 19th tape plays soon after, with the warden in view. "Are you enjoying my machine? Do you hear the cacophony of the pigs?" "What?" Amy asks, standing up. "Thank you, Amy. I finally have my machine up and running. The asylum has given me my inspiration to be what I must be. This machine fuels my passion for death, dear." Amy backs out of the broken wall. "This is crazy," she screams. This is me. This asylum is the epitome of my creation. This machine for pigs is truly my biggest creation." He laughs more. "You've gone crazy working here, Warden. You've gone crazy working here. You're insane." Amy runs to the conveyor belt room. "Insane?" He follows her. "I'm doing these idiots a favor. I'm killing them all. The scum, they've all perished. And now you shall too. This asylum is mine, and I finally have the Big Bang figured out. I'm going to chop you up in my grinder." "Why would you do this? I thought we were..." Amy cries. "We are nothing. Into the machine you go." He sprints into Amy, pushing her back, knocking the camera out of her hands. It lands on the ground as Amy smashes into the railing and falls onto the conveyor belt. Amy screams, running on the backwards belt. She's not getting anywhere, frankly. She falls over, being pushed into the grinding machine in front of her. In minutes, the warden is seen picking up the camera. The tape ends. I insert the final tape nervously. Amy is being followed by the warden's camera. She's being hacked and sliced into pieces by the grinding gears of the machine. At the end, I can hear the warden laughing maniacally and drops the camera. He lifts it back up when he finds Amy's body. It's been stuffed in a corner instead of being disposed. He sighs when suddenly the light explodes. The sparks fly downward, crashing into the conveyor belt's light sockets. They burst, setting fire to the machine for pigs. "This is your fault," a voice whispers into the camera. He races up the stairs to his office, but quickly is trapped. The machine, now ablaze, has burned down the stairs below. A combination of electricity and gas running this facility bursts, blowing off the belts and destroying the asylum support in moments. The warden tips over and crashes to the ground. He is caught on fire and crawls out into the hallway. The camera turns to reveal the girl and her bear, pulling the warden out into the hall. The tape ends. I gather the tapes up. I wonder how that last tape got into this briefcase. Anyway, I take the tapes out of my office and into my boss's office. "I know this is strange," I said, "but the entire footage needed to end the case is on these tapes." "Really?" he says. He takes the tape from me. "Go get your VCR." I bring the VCR into my boss's room. Pressing play, he looks at the first tape, which is the close-up of the cafeteria and the warden's office. The patient jumps into view like in the beginning. He smiles this time, however. "Did you enjoy the machine for pigs?" "That's not right," I said. "Let me get my notes. I'll show you what—" I'm cut off. The door to my boss's office is locked. It won't open. The patient just stares into my boss's eyes. He won't respond to me. This is your fault.